Hi boys and girls, today we're going to be looking in our numeracy at adding and subtracting decimals. So let's get started, shall we? When we've been adding before, we have always used our column headings, our thousands, our hundreds, our tens and our units. But since we've introduced decimals, we now have three new things to add to our column headings. We have our decimal point, and we have a small t for tenths and a small h for hundredths, and that changes a little bit of what we need to do whenever we add or take away. So I have my sum here at the bottom. I have 643.17 plus 255.24. Now, when we're writing that into a vertical sum, we need to make sure that we write our numbers into the correct headings. So 643.17 plus 255.24, and there's my line underneath. Now, the first thing you need to do when you're doing adding or taking away with decimals is put your decimal point on your answer line, and you make sure that they are under the same column. They're all in a row. Okay, doesn't go down and across one and across here again. They stay in a row. Now, once you have that in, it's a very, very simple adding sum then. So 7 plus 4 is 11, 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4, 5 plus 3 is 8, 5 plus 4 is 9, 6 plus 2 is 8, and your answer would be 898.41. When we come to sums like we can see now, where we have 418.9, 26.35. Now, can you see the difference in those two numbers? One of those numbers has a tenths column, and the other number has a tenths and a hundredths column. So looking to the right hand side, there's one extra column. Also, we have a units and tens, and we have a units, a tens and a hundreds column here. Now, what you need to make sure you do is just line them up in the correct columns. Don't worry about putting numbers underneath each other because they're the same. You know, there's 4 digits here, so there should be 4 digits in the next number. We put our 418.9. Beneath it we write our 26.35. And what you need to do now, and this is very, very important because we have a blank space here, and we have a blank space here. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you fill those gaps with zeros, because that does not change what that number is worth. That is still 418.9, still is the same value if you have 418.90. Same with the 0 here. And then whenever we put our adding sum in and we go to finish that sum, what's the first thing we do? Our decimal point. Go to the right hand side of the sum, start off with 0 plus 5 is 5, 9 plus 3 is 12, 8 plus 6 is 14 plus your 1 is 15, 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4, and 4 plus 0 is 4. So your answer to that one is 445.25. Looking on to our last example here with adding, we have our numbers down at the bottom this time, which has 5,671 and 23.09. Now, people will be looking at getting themselves a little bit confused because this number here actually doesn't have a decimal point. But I'm going to show you something that will hopefully clear that up very, very quickly. So this first column has a units, a tens, a hundreds, and a thousands column. The number we're adding it to, 23.09, has a tens, a units, a tenths, and a hundredths. So if we write those two numbers in, we have 5,671. We're adding to that 23.09. Now this does not look like any adding sum we have ever done before. But what do we say in our last example that we need to do? We need to put a decimal point here, 5671 point. And remember, we can add our zeros after the decimal point and it does not change what that number is worth. Also, with the 23.09, we can put zeros to this side and it does not change what that number is worth. So now that we have looking a little bit more like an adding sum we can do, we start off on the right hand side. We put in our decimal point and we start 0 plus 9 is 9, 0 plus 0 is 0. Let's go over to 1 plus 3 is 4, 7 plus 2 is 9, 6 plus 0 is 6, 5 plus 0 is 5, and your answer to that sum would be 5,694.09.